Hi, I'm Jackie from Bloom Property Management, and today I was doing a seminar about getting a competitive advantage for landlords. And one of the people asked me, what's the difference between being a DIY landlord or having a property manager? And my answer is, well, the advantage of either of those really depends on you. How much are you prepared to do the work to be a really good property investor? Good property investors and DIY landlords need to know their rights and responsibilities for them and their tenants. They need to be educated on absolutely everything they and their tenants can do and not do. Too many landlords don't know all the ins and outs of this, and because of that they're too scared to go to tenancy tribunal because they're worried that they've made mistakes, and when they go to tribunal the adjudicator will pick on them because they've misworded something in their contract or whatever. The tenants might misrepresent something and they don't know what they don't know, so they can't defend themselves properly. So, if you're comfortable with learning a lot of laws to do with this, because it's not just the Residential Tenancies Act, you need to know about discrimination, you need to know about debt collection, there's a whole heap of stuff that you need to know about building codes and so on. There is a lot to know about. You practically need to be a lawyer to be a good landlord. Not saying that lawyers make good landlords necessarily, but it sure would help. You also need to have a ability to be nice, but not a pushover. I consider it to be friendly, firm, and fair. It's the Daenerys Targaryen, Game of Thrones kind of person you want to be. You want to be someone that everybody loves, but if you mess with me, I will send my dragons to smite you. So, it is important that you have a respectful relationships with your tenants and tradespeople and everyone else you work with, but also that you're not someone that can be taken for granted or taken advantage of. So, you need to be nice, but not to your own detriment. You need to consider that tenants and you have a long-term relationship potentially, and that any viewing of your property is essentially a speed date. You and the tenant are assessing each other as to whether or not you want to work together long term. I've got a tenant that's been in my property for 17 years. I think about 11 years is my tenancy average in an area where 3 years is considered long term. So obviously I'm doing something right. Now, these tenants and I wouldn't want to work together long term if we didn't like each other and respect each other, and that really helps going forward. So when you're doing a viewing of a property, if you're the kind of person who can win over tenants and make them feel that you're the landlord for them, then you'll do great. If that's not you, get a property manager who can do it for you. Tenants are not assets or liabilities. They are people and need to be treated as such. And you need to be able to work with tradies really well. So I have tradies who I've worked with for years and years and years, and they love working with me because I give them really clear instructions. I give them leeway to sort it out however way they think is best. I tell them the result I want. I don't care how they get there. I heed their advice. I respect their time. I don't ask them to go out and quote repeatedly for jobs that they're not going to get. Frankly, I don't even bother getting my guys to quote on a lot of jobs unless it's going to be a huge one. And that's simply so I know that I've got the funds to pay them. I don't haggle with them. I might ask them if there's another way we can achieve the same outcome or a similar outcome with less expense, but I'm not devaluing their time and effort and knowledge and experience. I'm paying them what they're worth, and they are gold. I pay them on time, which is awesome. So ideally, I get an invoice and I pay it the same day. Now, do you think that makes my tradies want to work with me? Damn straight. They absolutely do. So I try and work with them as fast as I can. If I've got a different pay schedule, I will tell them ahead of time so that they know when to expect payment and they will get it in full. I'm sticking with my good ones. Loyalty goes both ways. If I want someone to come to my property when I've got a property, a maintenance emergency that needs to be dealt with, I want them to be happy to do so. I don't want them to come because I'm going to yell at them. I want them to come because they enjoy working with me and they know they'll get repeat business from me and they know it'll be no hassle. And I get that by supporting them. They're small business people. I look after them so that they'll be there when I need them next. So if you don't feel that way about your tradies, maybe DIY landlording isn't for you. Also, and this is most important, having awesome systems for dealing with tenants. So that's everything from advertising, which is a whole topic in itself. I could talk for hours on that. Tenant induction, so setting up tenants for success rather than failure. You want to give them every opportunity to be the best tenants you can possibly get from them, which is amazing. Most of my tenants are absolutely amazing. I've got a few that I've got stories about, but honestly, I've had a lot less issues than most. Like having great paperwork is highly underrated. It is so important, the impression you give by your correspondence with someone. So if you've got a inspection letter saying, "Hi, I'm coming to do an inspection and I'm going to get out my white cotton glove and judge you on your housekeeping, Mr. or Mrs. Tenant," is completely different from going, "Hey, we've got a maintenance inspection coming up. I want to keep your property in tip-top condition. So please let me know if there's anything you've noticed before I get there, and I'll bring stuff to fix it with me. So you can have the best possible property." Completely different situations. It's the same inspection. So, your attitude has a big impact on that. And that's the value of an excellent form letter. So doing your inspections well is really good. A lot of tenants don't notice things like their hot water cylinder's leaking, but you as a landlord or a property manager should be looking at that and making sure that you're checking all of the water areas, that everything is tickety-boo. Water is the biggest enemy in any property, and probably my next highest expense is electrical. So, those two things getting sorted is the main issues. So dealing with maintenance, I consider there's 3 baskets of maintenance. There is the urgent and important, must be done now. There is that nice to do, but there's no hurry to get it done. And there's things that we note and we will get them done probably next time we renovate the property, which may or may not be when that tenant is still in there. And we work with the tenants and explain this to them, that this, we're not made of money. We have to have a budget like everybody else, and we work with those parameters. And it makes tenants go, "Oh, okay, that's cool. I never thought of it that way. No worries." And we encourage them to tell us about stuff that they've noticed, because if we're sending a tradesperson for an urgent and important thing, we also want to get dealt with some of the things that are good to have but not urgent, because it saves call-out costs. And it's awesome to just knock all those things off the list all at once. So another good thing if you're a self-managing landlord is, are you great at renovations, or do you find that a nightmare? If you're not good at project management, get a project manager. If you're doing minor renovations, maybe your property manager can handle it. It just depends on what service they offer. I've done heaps of renovations in my property. I'm pretty confident about them. I know what order things need to go in, and I've got really good relationships with my tradies, so if there's anything I'm not sure about, I ask. So that makes it go a lot more smoothly. And I don't make assumptions about stuff. It's the things you don't say that come and bite you in the bum later. So, good communication again is vital. Rent collection, also a critical thing, and everyone thinks this is all about landlording, but no, it's a very minor part of it. But you still need to have really good systems, good record keeping, know what to do if tenants don't pay rent, to prompt them to pay rent, and if that doesn't work, what the next steps are. You need to know what to do when things go wrong. It's not just rent, there's lots of other things, and how to deal with that, and avoiding rookie mistakes like forgetting to lodge the bond and simple things like that come back and bite landlords. So, there is a lot to know if you're going to be a do-it-yourself landlord. Most landlords don't know everything they should know. It is really, there wouldn't be property managers if there wasn't enough in it to justify full-time occupations for people. This is my area of expertise. I've been doing it for a very long time, and I'm always learning something new. I am concerned about a lot of landlords who treat this as a very part-time situation. They maybe only have 1 or 2 properties, and they haven't had enough experience to know what they don't know. So they're going through things with a lot of ignorance, and that's a pretty dangerous position to be in. I'm not saying that they're not doing it well, but there is a greater risk there. So have a good think about how much time and energy you want to put into it, and if it really isn't all that much, seriously consider getting property management. So obviously I'm biased at it because I run a property management company. So if you want to talk more about whether or not property management's for you, have a chat with me, Jackie Thomas Teague from Bloom Property Management.